So for the fourth and final part to this project, you're going to look at the economic impact of the country in which your city is located in response to climate change. So in order to assess how well an economy is doing, economists use what is called gross domestic product, or GDP, which is just a number that tells us how well an economy is doing. And the bigger the number, the better the economy is doing. The worse the number, the worse the economy is doing. It's essentially how much money each country is making when it takes in all of the goods and services that its citizens produce in that year. To learn more about this and for a better explanation, there is a 1-minute YouTube video that describes this in more detail. Okay, so to look at how your country specifically will be impacted by climate change in terms of its economy, we are going to go to this interactive that comes from Stanford University. And what this tells you is how their GDP is going to change by the year 2100 compared to a world without climate change. So what you see here is the bluer the country is, the more the GDP is going to increase. So essentially their economy is going to actually do better because of climate change. And the redder it is, which is the majority of the world, their economy or their GDP is going to go down. So what you see at the bottom here is a graph. This is what I want you to pay attention to. This graph shows you overall, over the next 80 or so years, how will the GDP change? So what you see here is a percent change in GDP over time. And worldwide, what we can expect is a decrease in GDP by about 25%. And we're following this black line here because that is the researchers' best estimate. It's within this red region here. You see that this red zone gets bigger over time. And what that is as we go, as we use these computer models to predict what the GDP is going to be, we become more uncertain over time. So the red area, the red shaded area, is their uncertainty value. Just like in class, when we use uncertainty boxes to show that the actual value might actually fall anywhere in that region, but the dark black line shows us that this is where it is most likely to fall. This is our best estimate. So in order to look at how your GDP for your country is going to change, you're going to scroll through the menu here. Since we're using New York as our example, we're going to scroll down to the United States. You see that the United States is highlighted there, and the graph has changed. So in the United States, what we can expect is a decrease in GDP by about, I'd say, 30 to 40% by the year 2100, compared to a non-warming globe, or a globe that's not experiencing climate change. So you can scroll down and read a little more about how these researchers arrived at these numbers. They give you 3 other graphs that show the growth, the economic growth in comparison to temperature. So like the 2010 temperature in comparison to what we expect the 2100 temperature to be like. And you see that that economic growth decreases when we are at a higher global temperature. You also see the growth rate over time. So the black line shows you what the economic growth would be like without climate change. The red line, obviously, with climate change. And then finally, the GDP per capita over time. So go ahead, look up your country and insert this graph here for your country and write a short description about what we can expect your GDP to do.